The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. Star Carter is a 16-year-old black girl who's torn between two parts of her life. She attends a party in Garden Heights. Star goes to the party with Kenya, who is a friend with whom she shares an older half-brother, Seven. Since attending Williamson Prep, which is primarily a white school, Star feels out of place in the social scene in Garden Heights. When Kenya goes off with her other friends, Star runs into her childhood best friend, Khalil Harris. Gunshots from a gang fight interrupt the party, and Khalil offers to take Star home. While Khalil drives, he explains a rapper's idea that Thug Life stands for "The hate you give little infants fucks everybody." Soon after, a white police officer with the badge number 115 pulls them over for having a broken taillight. Khalil, not knowing the reason for being pulled over, questions the motivation for the stop, and 115 orders him out of the car and searches him. 115 commands Khalil not to move and returns to his car. Khalil opens the door to check on Star and ask if she's okay. 115 fatally shoots Khalil.
So one theme that stood out to me while reading our book, The Hate U Give, was the theme of the main character, Star Carter, feeling like she has to live two different identities and double consciousness. Star feels pulled between two worlds throughout The Hate U Give, that of the poor, primarily black Garden Heights, and the affluent, primarily white Williamson Prep School that she attends. The author explores the tension felt by characters of color who must navigate the boundary between who they are and how the outside world portrays them. In doing so, she evokes scholar W.E.B. Du Bois' famous notion of double consciousness, the sensation of two-ness experienced by black individuals seeing themselves through the eyes of a racial society. Du Bois puts forth this term in 1903 to describe the experience of being black in an American culture that has devalued blackness for its entire history. Black identity is split between the way black individuals perceive themselves and the way they know the white world will view them, creating a sense of internal conflict. From the time Star steps into Big D's party at the beginning of the novel, Star makes it clear that she feels there are two versions of herself. She negotiates the boundary between Williamson Star and Garden Heights Star, not fully comfortable with either identity and frequently shifting her tone and vocabulary based on her audience. She says, "I don't talk like me or sound like me," she says of the way she behaves beyond the boundaries of her neighborhood. "I choose every word carefully and make sure I pronounce them well. I can never, ever let anyone think I'm ghetto."
At the urging of her uncle Carlos, a police officer, Star goes into the police station after school with her mother Lisa to testify about Khalil's shooting. Star realizes that the officers are asking more questions about whether Khalil was a troublemaker than about the night of the shooting. She worries that justice for Khalil will not be served. At Khalil's funeral, a lawyer and activist named April Ofra confirms Star's fears when she announces that the police will not pursue legal action against 115 and invites the attendees to rally in Khalil's honor. Star blames herself for the police inaction. King, the head of the local gang called the King Lords, also interrupts the funeral and places a gray bandana on Khalil's casket, signifying Khalil's membership in the King Lords. April Ofra tells Star to call her if she needs legal representation. The news that the police won't prosecute 115 leads to days of protests in Garden Heights. During this time, Maverick, Star's father, explained to her his interpretation of the rapper's phrase, "Thug Life." He believes that Thug Life describes a system designed against black communities. Only by speaking out can black communities begin to break the cycle. A few days later, Maverick gets into an argument with a neighborhood barber, Mr. Lewis. Although the argument is peaceful, two police officers intervene, and when they see Maverick, Star's father, they push him to the ground and search him. Between this scary event and the pressure from Kenya, Star decides that she will no longer be silent. The district attorney calls Lisa to announce that a grand jury will hear the case against 115 and asks Star if she would testify. Star agrees, and April Ofra decides to represent Star and also find a way to get Star a television interview. During Star's television interview, she decides to talk about the truth behind Khalil's drug dealing. Star implicates King, which enrages him. The night before her grand jury testimony, someone throws a brick window and fires a gun into the Carter house. They aren't sure if the culprits are the King Lords or the police. This scares Star into almost backing out of testifying. However, she ultimately decides that Khalil needs her truth and decides to testify before the jury. Almost 2 months later, the grand jury announces their decision not to indict 115. Star and some of her friends get caught up in the resulting riots.
As I was reading The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, I couldn't help but think about all the racially motivated violence going on today and what people are doing to bring a stop to it. You have cases like Eric Garner, an unarmed black man killed by a white police officer with the prohibited chokehold and who was never criminally charged. Garner's dying words, "I can't breathe," were captured on video and became a rallying cry for the Black Lives Matter movement, aimed to call attention to police killing and other injustices for unarmed black men. This is just one of the many examples going on in today's society. People are starting to notice and take action against police brutality. The Black Lives Matter movement has sparked many protests and rallies against police all over the country. This reminds me when the characters in the book started protesting, but instead of the peaceful protests I think of and see on the news, the characters in the novel started throwing rocks and glass at the police officers. This quickly turned into a chaotic scene. This just shows how upset characters were in the novel and how easily this can happen in our world that we live in right now.
As she tries to avoid the chaos, Star stumbles upon a protest that's led by Miss Ofra. Ofra offers Star the megaphone, and Star leads a chant in front of the protest.
The scene that had the most impact to me had to be the megaphone part of the book, because to me that was a big turning point for her character. She stopped being less passive about everything, and she picked up the microphone and started to speak out, started making a stand, started saying, "Hey, this isn't right that you're portraying my friend in such a negative light." Because that's what the media in the book was doing. They were making it seem like he was a thug and a criminal just because he was doing these bad things, and those bad things were being done with a good purpose. And she wanted the world to know that he was a good person and he did deserve justice. And to me, that's a pretty impactful part of the book, because she realized that the only way to change something is to take action for yourself. And from that point on, I'd like to think that that's exactly what she did.
Star and her friends head to the Carter family store to get some milk to help heal their eyes. A Molotov cocktail lands in the store, setting it ablaze and trapping them. Maverick arrives just in time to unlock the back door. King arrives right after to taunt them, proud about getting his revenge. Then the police arrive, and King is confident that no one will testify against him, and claims ignorance. However, the neighbors rally around the Carter family and tell the police what they saw, and they saw King throw the Molotov cocktail. In the end, King is arrested.
After reading the book, I can honestly say that this was really hard. It was hard to read. It was hard to, put yourself in that type of position, to fight for your race, to fight for justice, and to visualize the amount of pressure that she had to go through just to fight. There's one part of the book that I would like to talk about, and it goes like this. It is impossible to be unarmed when our blackness is a weapon that they fear. It's crazy to think that our skin color is considered a weapon to some. I would have never thought that my brown skin is considered a weapon, or my friend's black skin is considered a weapon. It's stuff like this that we constantly go to fear, not knowing what others will think of us.
Although the grocery store is burned and in ruins, Star knows that her family will rebuild, and she vows to continue fighting for justice on behalf of Khalil and all of the black people killed at the hands of police.